Hello, 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 and welcome to the another AI series, another AI episode of Tea with Lily. I'm Lily, your host. I'm an event host by day and a brand strategist by night. Today I've changed it around a little bit, and we have a fabulous show today. We've got Eric Bai, who is here to talk to us of things that people don't talk to us when it comes to AI, the human side of it. But before I do that, I want to talk about what's in the news today and so on and so forth. I'm going to bring Eric on so that we can have a little chat about bits and pieces before we actually tuck in. So, welcome, Eric. How are you doing?
Thanks, Lily. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Now, I know you're not a football fan because if you come from somewhere else and you find out where that is. But football, we had Arsenal, Man City. Man City took the crown. Congratulations to them. But being an Arsenal fan, I'm still feeling a little bit, because it was a very, very, very close match. Now, Eric, can you tell us about the top AI that's come for free? Which is quite astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, last week, OpenAI had a big announcement. They announced some new features, but their kind of main big announcement was they're releasing their best model for free for everyone. Previously, ChatGPT, that OpenAI owns, they had a free version, but the model wasn't nearly as good. So a lot of people were testing it, finding it didn't work very well for them, and then kind of moving on. So it looks like their strategy's changed a bit. They've decided to push the free model to everyone. And it's far better. It's probably one of the best models on the market. And just limit usage a little bit. So it'll be really interesting to see if a lot more people start using it, if a lot more people start getting value from it. And from an accessibility point of view, it's big. It gives everyone in the world access to an incredibly intelligent model that can help them with everything from business to education to cooking. So yeah, it's exciting. Exciting week in AI last week.
Thank you, and you can find out how recipes in seconds, whereas before you went into Google and you got like page one with different and adverts and what have you. But another thing that was in the news today, over the weekend, that was the Queen's ex-husband and Robinson. I thought, oh my God, that was a bit of Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Tea with Lily. So Tea with Lily is the space for informal discussions where we chat. It's a very relaxed format and we chat about topical issues over a cup of tea, and guests from all walks of life, the great and the good, I call them, who come in and share their expertise with all of us with tips and tricks for professionals interested in personal and career growth. And thanks for everybody that's joined. Thank you, Christian, for joining in so quickly. And let us know where you're watching or where you will be watching from if this is on replay, so that we know who is joining us from local, whether it's the UK, whether it's Canada, that's something that's coming through Canada, and America, Ghana, wherever, Nigeria, anywhere you are, just pop your location and name a location and we'll say hi, because we know we have friends all over the world. So now I mentioned Eric Bai of Erictron AI. Welcome to the Magic Sofa. And what are you drinking?
Thanks, Lily. Have water today.
Good. I'm having water too. And believe it or not, we've had a little accident. I dropped water on my laptop. Hopefully it won't become a dead piece of machine after this. Hopefully it will see us through the next 30 minutes. So now let's hear a little bit about Eric. I'm going to read his bio so I don't get anything wrong. Meet Eric Bai of Erictron AI, an accomplished AI consultant and tech industry leader, passionate about driving innovation through intelligent artificial intelligence. Originally from Canada, Eric's fascination with AI began over a decade ago when he started his tech career at an AI company. Since then, he has held leadership roles across tech startups and established enterprises, leveraging his Bachelor of Commerce degree, specializing in entrepreneurship. Based in the UK for nearly 6 years, Eric has demonstrated keen ability to harness AI and emerging technologies to drive growth, optimize operations, and deliver value for customers across various industries, including consumer electronics, e-commerce, financial technology, and logistics. Wow, you've been around, Eric.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey.
Yes, there has been. Well, no wonder you know so much about it. I can't wait to dive in. So, Eric, you're committed to demystifying AI, making it more accessible for businesses whilst prioritizing safe, secure, and profitable implementation. I think implementation is a very, very key word that we're going to talk about today. Through his work and thought leadership, he empowers organizations to navigate the complexities of adoption, AI adoption, and integration. In his leisure time, or do we say leisure time, Eric enjoys, is it leisure or leisure in Canada?
I think it's leisure. It might
Okay, we
change
say
across the country, though. I'm not sure.
we are from the backwater, we say leisure. In his leisure time, Eric, so do you say tomato or tomato?
Tomato.
Tomato. Sorry.
That's
Tomato,
all right.
tomato. In his leisure time, Eric enjoys exploring the great outdoors with his canine companion and discovering how culinary delights with family and friends. So, we're going to be talking about various things from considering the impact on your employees and the pipeline when introducing AI to your business. Clearly, we've had, I mean, let's say the last year, and especially in 2024, AI, if everywhere you look, AI is being talked about. Those who are doing it, those who are faking it, and those of us who are just curious about it, you know? So, what do you think is most important about when you're introducing AI to your business?
I think there's a few key bits. One is,
Mhm.
I guess, as a general tool, it can seem like it fits in everywhere, but it's
Mm,
really finding those high impact areas where it's actually going to add value. After you've kind of understood where it might fit into your business, it's a big important part is the people aspect.
yeah,
The first time I talked to a senior leadership team about AI, it triggered a bit of an existential crisis in a number of them,
really.
and I think there's less surprise when I'm talking to people now. People are a bit more familiar with some of the capabilities, but I think understanding that it's very unlike a lot of other technology you might have talked to or implemented in the past.
Hmm.
It's has impacts outside of work and outside of jobs. So making sure people are comfortable and confident in how and understanding and how it's going to impact their roles is really key.
Yeah, because a lot of people have, you know, imagine, say, a writer. If we're going to look at the generative AI capabilities and the soft and the things that the technology behind that. If you're a writer or even a copywriter, for instance, and you're in business or somebody tells you that they're going to bring AI into the business, you would be worried, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think some people in some roles will be worried more than others.
Mm,
There's an art to copywriting. There's a lot of work that happens before the actual writing starts as well to generate good copy. But there's that kind of artistic,
mm,
creative side definitely can be a bit triggering and make people
mm.
a bit nervous.
But then I am of the opinion, maybe because I write, I speak, and I'm sure somebody can get a bot to speak my voice, but I don't feel threatened by it. I feel actually, like you say, it's empowering because it'll allow me to do a lot more. It allows me to do a lot more than perhaps when I wasn't using it or didn't know how to use it well enough to try different things. So I just did the basic things. But now I'm getting quite, I've touched, I've dipped my toe in it and I'm learning how to use it for it to basically, I think this AI thing is like garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you put garbage in, for want of a bit better expression, it will come up with, that garbage that you put in. Well, not as bad as the Google or the other side of it, but it will only give you what you ask it to do, the instructions and the prompts. So, I mean, when it comes to introducing it into your business, what are the key steps that you think business owners particularly might want to think about when they want to introduce AI into the business formally? But I'm sure by now the employees are using it informally.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few key areas really. One is data privacy and security. A lot of the free AI tools at the moment, they're taking that data, especially if you don't have your settings correct, and they're able to train their models on that data. So if your employees are putting in intellectual property, customer, person identifiable information, there's almost no security on that. So that's really kind of the first main step, is understand what tools people are using and make sure that they have access to tools that are acceptable for your data security purposes.
Yeah.
The next is, I think, besides there's understanding where it can add value into your business, which is really
Yeah.
key. You want to focus on those areas when you're starting to have more of an intentional AI strategy and do more formal implementation of it. And a big part of that is understanding how can you best leverage the expertise you have. So, like you said, garbage in, garbage out. When you're working with AI, when I'm working with clients who are talking about implementing AI, it's not about kind of replacing people. It's saying, all right, what's the best way to leverage the expertise and the knowledge that your teams have and use AI to help save time on monotonous tasks, to drive efficiency, or add value. If you take that knowledge and those skills your team have and take the skills and knowledge that a good AI tool has, you can augment their capabilities and make them more capable of doing new things. So it's all about finding the different ways that it adds value in the business, and that's generally kind of just driving efficiencies, increasing your ability to do things you haven't done before, or even adding new services for your customers. Now, when you get into kind of actually implementing it, you want to make sure you're communicating really clearly with your teams. A lot of people hear efficiency project and artificial intelligence, and they assume it's coming for their jobs.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to a single client yet that is interested in replacing anyone with AI. Every business that I've spoken to has a long list of things they'd love to be doing, but they don't have the time to do, or they don't have the skill set internally to accomplish.
Right.
So that seems to be far more common than businesses looking to kind of just cut heads out. But it's communicating that and making sure that people understand that this kind of bringing in the business it's a journey, and making sure that your employees feel supported and confident and engaged, because it's really hard to teach people new tools and new skills and get them to effectively use new technology if there's a lot of anxiety around it. Now there's kind of more external anxiety about AI, but when you introduce the technology with that supportive aspect, you make sure that they understand that their job is safe, that they also, as being part of these types of projects and implementations, you're helping give them the skills to be able to navigate the future a lot more comfortably and confidently. So even if they're not at that business forever, they feel confident and happy going through that program of work, because they know these skills are really critical. And
I
in their
think
next role and the role after that, they'll have the tools they need.
exactly, because I think if AI has been part of your role in one organization, the likelihood is that if you're moving to another organization, they'll expect you to have that already. But if you're pushing back that I don't want to learn this, or you don't open your mind to it, you're actually doing yourself a disservice if that is what the industry is walking towards in terms of adaptation and adaptation as well. So I think people need to be open-minded about it. But
Definitely.
I certainly embrace it. I'm curious, like I mentioned, I'm curious about it, and I use it. And it was a sort of, somebody coined in a really, really good way for me, which is I use it as my critical thinking partner. Isn't that clever?
Yeah, it's great, especially if when you're an entrepreneur, having something to bounce ideas off of or sense check ideas, organize thoughts.
Yeah.
When you're grinding through a problem and you don't always have an expert in a certain area to run something by.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
can sure
So
accelerate that.
for me, it's a partnership. And I don't, as long as you're open, I think my last guest, or the last but one guest who was talking about AI, suggested in a different way in terms of data and privacy. They talked about the fact that it's not actually cheating, but if you're creating perhaps copy for clients and you're using AI to help you do critical thinking, you should be just open about it. You didn't copy and paste it but you used it to help you bounce ideas. But what I would put in terms of changing AI text, AI generated text, what I will do with it is different from what you would do with it, Eric, because you think differently to me. And I doubt that you will ever think like you. You might think like me in certain ways, but the way you will write things will be different from me. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone has their own workflow
Mm,
when they go to an AI tool to help them with something, and kind of how much they might modify the output or the style of the conversation. And a lot of it's just learning by doing, and then people
mm,
develop their own processes. So I mean, there's two different ways that I kind of work to help people with AI. One is that general education, so they can pick it up as that kind of creative partner, and then the
mm,
other is the more narrow use case where you need more control and say, all right, we know our output needs to be specific and consistent each time in these scenarios, and helping them
mhm.
set that up. So there's the combination of using it as a teammate or a partner, and then using it as a tool, and then switching between those modes.
Okay, so you use it. I'm going to type this. Use it. Oops. Use it as a teammate, mate, or a partner, or thinking partner. Partner. Okay, I like that. See, it's my strategic thinking partner. Not just a thinking partner, a strategic thinking partner. Because that it will I tend to start writing first, and then I'll ask it to help me polish it up. Instead of me going, using the button to go back and forth. Um, Half the time, it comes back with one or two changes to it. And then half the time it just comes up with almost the same thing. I'm like, wow, I'm clever. I'm cleverer than the machine. But of course, I'm cleverer than the machine because I gave it the information in the first place. And I think we have to understand that we as humans are a lot cleverer than the machines because we are actually telling it what to do.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, and giving it that context so it can give a relevant and good
mm,
response. And that's where leveraging your expertise, because that information you're giving it is your expertise.
yes,
Because you think about it,
exactly.
how they're built, they're trained on all that information on the internet. So when it's predicting that most likely next word,
Mm,
if you don't give it any information, it's going to give you almost by definition the most common kind of mundane idea. But if you give it all of that personal context,
mm.
or business related context, it can do some pretty unique,
Yes, and I think my
stuff.
writing is very conversational,
Mm.
whereas serious business thinking writing is very, yeah, blah. blah in big, large words that cannot fit in your mouth, you know. So I just find it sometimes like, oh, it's a bit too turgid for
Yeah,
me,
definitely.
and it doesn't speak the way, it doesn't have my voice, but eventually it will, the more I train it to do so. But I think it will still have, we have a long way to go for AI to start thinking and writing like we do. But in terms of, like, for instance, speaking, if you're doing an audio recording, it cannot do the inflections of a human,
That's
can it?
um, it can't today in ChatGPT, but they do have new models out now. So OpenAI demoed one last week that will
Okay,
read the emotions on your face, read the tone in your voice, and then respond appropriately. And there's another one called Hume AI as well that does a live model of different emotions in your voice, and I believe they can do visual as well.
really?
And that will they've
I need to
optimized
test
that one,
that
I believe,
one.
for happiness. So it optimizes its tone and response
Okay.
based on your tone to kind of make you happier, which is a bit of a slippery slope. And there's definitely some broader ethical
Mm,
concerns, but from a user experience point of view, it'll make it a lot, if you're chatting with that creative
mm,
partner and
yeah.
it has a more lifelike tone, then that'll make it a lot more of an engaging conversation. So I use AI, the kind of AI voice chat when I'm walking my dog in the afternoons, and kind of I'll brainstorm different ideas or work through different business problems or
Mm,
strategies, or I'll just have it teach me something new that I'm not familiar with, and just have a long ongoing conversation with it. And I think when they add in that kind of emotional component,
mm,
because you also communicate when you're just talking to it now. It doesn't understand the tone in your voice. So it doesn't understand if
mm,
you're getting frustrated with it because it's not giving you what you want. And when it's able to take that into account, you should get some kind of more value in those approaches. It's like you were talking about earlier. You're giving it more information, but you're able to
mm.
communicate with your like facial expressions or the tone of your voice. And so it'll be interesting to see how that changes how people interact with it.
But I think, is it going to start looking at accents? And then we're on I think we'd be in a very, very slippery slope. And I think it'll take time, because accents are, one of those things that when I'm very excited, emotional, I go into my I go closer to my Ghanaian way of speaking. But when I'm, everything is calm, then the British way of speaking is very apt. I bounce from one to the other, which,
Yeah.
that's just how I am. How the bot, the technology will pick those nuances is something that I guess we should all be watching for, the people side of AI. So, what sort of
Definitely.
tricks can business, or tricks and tips can business people or business leaders use or think about when they're adopting, or thinking of adopting or integrating AI into their current tech kit?
Yeah, I think one key one is if you're looking at making a process more efficient or
Mm,
automating a process, consider, is that process or workflow or task, is it key to people's learning and development? Because if
okay.
you're automating a task and that task is key to how a junior person or even a senior person learns and develops within their role, do you are you able to provide that learning through an alternative task? Do you want to actually maybe reduce the efficiency and use the
Mm,
AI as a supporting tool to help them improve and get better and maybe learn that task faster, give up a little
mm,
bit of the efficiency, but understand whether or not it's going to impact that.
yeah.
I think when you're looking at, I think I've heard it most talked about with law, because in law you have your first and second year associates that are doing certain types of tasks that are really critical to their learning and development.
Yeah.
But as those types of tasks start to get automated, It won't be able to do everything that they do, but it might be really key aspects of learning development. What will happen to that pipeline of employees when they're kind of progressing through? Are they
Yeah.
still going to be learning the skills that they need? So I think that's one of the key things I look at when I'm talking to clients and working on projects is
Mm.
making sure that they don't have a blind spot, because a lot of people get really
Yeah.
excited to get those efficiencies and automate everything, but you don't want to lose that knowledge within your team. You don't want to stop building and growing that knowledge and that
Yeah.
pipeline of employees to grow with your business as well. So
Yeah. I
that's kind
mean,
of a
you
key place to think about.
talking about law. Sorry to interrupt. Talking about law. One of the things you have to read vast amounts of text and understand it and apply it. And so, why does the resilience of learning to be a lawyer, learning to be a doctor, where does that, because those are human and that's tacit knowledge that you pick up from some of the things that you go through as a learner and for you to develop. If they automate all of that, some of those things, or a vast majority of that, again, that would be a challenge, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's going to change a lot of different type of work. So it is different. So it might automate something, but allow people to focus their time elsewhere. And I think it's having that intentional strategy so
Mm,
that you understand how it's going to impact your team, how it's going to impact the culture in your business,
yeah,
and you think about it from a more holistic perspective. But because it's also going to be impacting people in education for those types of roles as well at the moment. Higher education is going to have to change completely when it comes to making sure that people don't have shortcuts to take, so they're still
mm,
learning those critical
yeah,
processes.
yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but I think that's a really, really good point. So when it comes to privacy and stuff like that, what do you do as an organization who's already implemented things like chat, and how do you manage that?
The first step is having a really clear policy internally.
Mm,
I've started hearing that some insurance companies are requiring a risk-based AI policy
okay.
to maintain coverage for things like professional indemnity insurance. Um, so having that policy makes sure that not only your employees but your insurers and some external stakeholders understand what the acceptable uses of the tool are,
Yeah.
what the approved tools are. um, but it's not just about having a policy that restricts the usage. You also want to look at having an AI policy that makes sure people are using it safely, that they know how to use it, but it's also encouraging innovation and experimentation, that people understand that it's a supportive policy and
Mm,
it's helping drive the business forward at the same time. But understanding people need to understand what tools they can use. Your business has to approve what tools are acceptable and what information people can put into them, as well as
yeah.
making sure that they have um, a, a clear understanding of what the risks limitations are. So not just handing them a piece of paper about their AI policy, but pairing that with some education so they
Yes.
understand the context behind what they're asking of their employees.
So
Because it's
would they have things like they've got the AI handbook, as it were, or playbook. They've got the AI playbook, and then you have the AI course online. Normally, these things are now chucked online because there are no in-person trainers anymore. They don't want to pay for people like us, but that's okay. I'm not an AI trainer, but just trainers generally have been asked to do a lot of stuff online, which is fine. It means I don't have to get out of this room and go anywhere else, so that's fine. But once you've done that, how do you know that they're going to follow the rules? What sort of gatekeeping do you put in place?
It depends on the business. You need processes and you need to teach. I mean, one thing with digital transformation was making sure that you
Mm,
didn't just teach people how to change what they were doing, but you gave their managers the tools and the knowledge and the processes to hold their teams accountable. So it's just making sure that as part of that policy, there's a governance structure in place, that they have the processes and the tools to hold their teams accountable,
mm,
and building an AI council internally as well, because every business is structured differently with how they hold people accountable today. You're not necessarily doing a lot of micromanaging. If you're it's
You
also one of the
think
big
there's some
reasons.
managers who will micromanage forever?
Oh, working with clients, I try to avoid encouraging additional
Yeah,
micromanaging,
yeah,
uh, or adding that in as a key thing. But I think if you have confidence in your tools and how people are using them, then the big thing is just making sure that you have a human in the loop and that people are accountable for not only how they're using the tools, but that a human's accountable for the output of the tools. You
yeah,
can't hold
yeah,
an AI tool accountable. So part of that training and part of that policy is making sure people understand that like you can use AI for these workflows or for these tasks,
mm.
but you have to be accountable. You're accountable for reviewing that.
And yeah, accountability is really important. In terms of like the free stuff out there, because we all like free, right? But at some point we have to pay to actually get good quality. What would be your idea of, how would you think of people upgrading to the paid version, and are they worth it for, say, the
Um,
ones that we know of, the
if
Chat
I think
GPT
I
and
think the
Gemini, the likes of Gemini and Copilot even?
I think the common phrase I think is if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So
Absolutely, that's true. That's true. I've heard that. I use that
I think
often.
if ChatGPT does have a new privacy setting that everyone should go in and change. If you go into your settings and data controls, turn off model training on your data.
Okay, hold
Um,
on. Let me change settings on model training on Chat GPT. Okay, thank you.
um, if you're using it for your business, I think businesses should definitely be buying a license. They're 20 to 30 pounds per person per month. The amount of time that they can save and the value they can deliver is
Yeah.
strong. And they also want to be covered by the commercial terms. If you're signing up and you're paying, you're falling under commercial terms, which are far stronger.
Mm,
Every business, though, has their own risk policy.
mm,
So it's important for them to understand what those terms and conditions are and whether or not it fits in with their data protection procedures and everything else. But even personal use, I think we're seeing a lot of free tools out there. You've got Facebook integrating it into everything, so it's just being cautious about. I mean, similar to anything on the internet, where
yeah.
you're putting that really personal information. And I think with AI, it's going to be something people have to think about a little bit more because they might be having a lot more personal conversations with these types of tools, and they don't necessarily want that information to end up trained into the next model because
Yes,
things
yes.
things things
Or
can
business
slip through.
critical
And
information. You don't want your
definitely,
competitors to know all of that, right? Because maybe you've spent thousands, millions of dollars in a prototype. You don't want the tool to pick your information and give it to the whole world, and your competitors will get it for next to nothing. We don't
yeah,
want
that
that.
intellectual property is definitely a really common
Mm,
concern. So making sure you're using the right tools, that you understand their terms and conditions and their privacy policies. I think the challenge at the moment as well is there's a lot of new companies coming out without any history building and shipping
mm,
tools. A lot of them are
yeah,
US based, where there's far fewer protections on this as well. And a lot of them are really easy to sign up for. So
mm,
staff might see, oh, this free tool can do something for me, and not
yeah,
understand the implications. So making sure your staff understand that kind of
yeah,
the importance there of what tools they can and can't use. It's going to be, yeah, it's going to take a lot of educating people
yeah.
to kind of protect that data.
So education is vital. Now,
Yeah.
through you, I came across Claude. Tell us about Claude.
Yeah, so Claude's another one of the kind of what are called large language models, similar to ChatGPT. It has it performs for many tasks, I think, better than ChatGPT.
Mm,
Uh, I use it for more kind of writing longer, brainstorming over longer periods because it can reason over like about 350 pages worth of text at the moment.
Really?
And the voice is a little bit less like ChatGPT. ChatGPT has
Mm.
a very specific voice, where
And
it's you
Claude
can give it.
has a free version and a paid version. Again, it's around 20 quid per person
Yes.
per license. But it doesn't, it says that there is, I only signed up today because I just like to test what's out there. And finally, find my AI crush. I'm still looking for my AI crush. I haven't found my crush yet, but in terms of design, Canva is my crush. Seriously, I'm a huge Canva fan. But the Canva has AI in it, but I don't think it can do the whole thing. But I want like a generative AI tool that hook I can hook something onto, and so far I haven't found one. So I'm testing out Cloud too.
Yeah, Claude's a really
Oh,
good
Claude.
one. Claude, yeah, and yeah, its writing style is just really nice, and I like it for a lot of tasks. Like Midjourney is a fun one for doing image generation. I've been using that for a while. I'm also using I started using Canva more recently and really enjoying some of those features too. So
Mm.
I think the next step when it comes to, I mean, finding your AI crush, one of the big controversies about the OpenAI announcement last week is with that emotion. They made their voice assistant probably a little bit too flirty.
Oh,
So
hello.
when you start getting that
What
functionality starts
what do
coming
they
out
mean
to
by
everyone,
being too flirty? I don't understand.
there's some controversy that they used a voice that sounded a lot like Scarlett Johansson in the movie Her, where the guy fell in love with his AI. Very, very similar.
Okay, I'll have to
So
check it out. You know,
they were asking.
when it
I'll
comes
send
to
you the
fun
demo
things, I have to
video.
check it out.
I think they actually just changed the voice in the demo video to be someone else because Scarlett Johansson's kind of been a bit upset about the whole situation.
Oh dear.
So yeah,
Okay.
always lots of drama in the space.
Yeah. And about hallucinations, tell us what are AI hallucinations? I think these
So
terms are just so funny.
yeah, so when the models are predicting the next word, they
Hmm.
can predict something that's grammatically correct and semantically meaningful, but they're trained on all the information on the internet, and they're predicting the next most likely word. The internet's full of bad information, so they can do something what's called kind of hallucinating. They can give you an answer that sounds perfect, it sounds correct. They'll even cite sources, but it's made up sources, and the
Yeah,
information's wrong. And this is why I think pairing your usage of AI with your expertise so that you
hmm,
understand um, whether or not it's telling you the truth and whether or not the
yeah,
information it's giving you is correct. And especially if you're doing something that is going to customers or being used in decision making, that you have a process or you're doing to do some due diligence and fact check that. Now, the other side of hallucinations is it does mean that it's where some of the creativity comes from. So
mm,
there's hope that the hallucination side will be solved in the next year or two. But for now, people really need to be careful and watch what those outputs are, what's coming out of those
yeah.
outputs.
I've had one of those where I was doing something on LinkedIn, and then it came up with a prompt to find it about me. Do you want to find out who Lily Nadumensa is? I'm like, yeah. It's nosy. I'm like, I wonder what this bot is going to say about me. So it came up with a whole heap of stuff. And then at the end, it had like XYZ, all sort of crazy stuff at the end. So I thought, I think LinkedIn needs to sort that. So I deleted it. But what it came up at the top of it was pretty accurate. You could have fleshed it more, but now I use it on my not a signature when I put a big post. I said LinkedIn said I am this person. So if I'm not this person, it's LinkedIn's fault. But it used information that again I have fed the algorithm, and they have picked the information from my 20 years of being on LinkedIn. I'm that old. 20 years of being on LinkedIn. I don't know about you, but do you remember LinkedIn used to be a place where it was by invitation only, and only
Yes.
the greats and the good, I know, were allowed, your friend had to invite you. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think I forgot it, but yeah, it's interesting how they used to grow these platforms.
Well, I think they soon realized that if they're going to go and become this billion, they wanted the numbers in billions, they needed to be less exclusive. And thank God they have. But I think, yeah, we've covered a lot, haven't we? So is there any particular, how do we find you, Eric? How do we find you?
Yeah, people can just reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Drop me a message. I have my email and my contact info there as well. It's Eric at erictronai.com. And I've also have a kind of an appointment booking link if anyone's interested in a, kind of a free kind of introduction to AI and a bit of a discovery session about where AI might fit into their business, kind of how it works, why it
Mm.
matters, managing some of those risks. So
And do you
kind
do
of a
training for organizations as well, for their
yeah, I
teams
do
and how
do
to onboard people or bring AI on board?
yeah, definitely. So training, I do kind of standalone training and education sessions. I also do training as a part of any of the services I offer. So if I'm doing kind of an opportunity assessment, helping a business understand where AI fits into their businesses,
Mm.
those discovery sessions as well, and making sure to do education and training so people understand the context and they can make it a more collaborative session. If I'm doing implementations, making sure that I'm training people on how the tools work, not just for how they should work within that specific context, but so they can more independently contribute to kind of that innovation within the business. And then if I'm writing AI policies or working on AI strategy for business, then again, education is key to making sure people understand and can like effectively use and manage that policy, or that they can effectively implement an AI strategy into their business. So it's definitely key to a lot of the services that I offer.
Okay. Right. So you offer free intro to AI. Can you elaborate on that as a sort of potential giveaway if people are interested?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, offer free intro to AI session, either 30 or 60 minutes. I send some questions over, make sure to tailor it to the business that I'm speaking to,
Mm.
make sure people have a good understanding of kind of how AI works, what common tools are right
Mm.
now, kind of what are the common use cases and some case studies, and then a bit of a chat and discussion and kind of a mini discovery session about kind of where AI might fit into the business, where it can add value for their particular type of business, as
Yeah.
well as
Yeah.
helping them understand how to manage some of those risks as well.
I have a question that is sort of very broad and very out there. Somebody mentioned on the call I was on earlier today that how do you encourage people? I mean, I was very offended by that. How do you encourage people over 50 to embrace AI? And I'm well past that. I thought that was very offensive. How do you manage the ageism? How should we manage the ageism that is likely to come with AI introduction and adoption?
I mean, I think it's so accessible now that
Yeah.
I've had less resistance from the older generations. I think they've been a bit more open to it, seeing it as a tool that can really help them, where previously they might have
We need
struggled with
help
the new
with
technology.
thinking, clarity.
This is the people that are kind of older have a better idea of managing people and communicating better, and that actually
Mm,
puts them in a better place to
mm,
use the tools
mm.
more effectively because they are stronger communicators. It's a lot more like hiring like an army of interns than it is kind of having to use a complex new technology. And once people kind of wrap their heads around that,
Hmm.
it's not too bad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Eric, we've come to the end of our chat. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge about AI implementation and adoption, and also the human side of it and the fears and how to make sure that even if it's introduced, the humans get the benefit out of that introduction and how we use it. So I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much, and thank you everybody who's tuning, who has tuned in, has taken the time of the Tuesday evening, morning, afternoon to listen to us talk about more AI stuff. which I've thoroughly enjoyed because the stuff that I didn't know. And Eric, you've been amazing. So thanks everybody for joining in. I'm Lily Naja-Mensah, brand specialist, event host. And if you need any training, if you need branding advice, if you need any of that, you know where I am. I'm on Facebook. This program is on YouTube as well as on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I reside generally. You can always find me there or any of the socials. So look after yourself, take care, and may everything that you wish for, Eric, and the rest of the viewers be the least that you receive. Bye for now.
Thanks, Lily.
You're welcome.